You are live.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Northwest Community Council's meeting of March 3rd, 2025. We'll call the meeting to order. Halifax Regional Municipality is located in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and the traditional lands of the Mi'kmaq people. The municipality acknowledges the peace and friendship treaties signed in this territory and recognizes that we are all treaty people. So I am your chair, Kathy Daigle-Gammon, Councillor for Waverley Fall River and Musquodoboit Valley. And we'll just do a mic and a video check with our vice chair, Councillor Gillis.
Hello from downtown Beaverbank.
And Councillor Hartling.
Hello, hello.
Councillor Young.
Hello.
And Councillor St. Amand.
Hey there.
Great. So we have all of our councillors present. Our clerk this evening is Krista Vining, and planning staff that is with us this evening is also Jess Harper. So we will move on to the approval of the minutes of February 10th, 2025. We have a mover and a seconder, please.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Councillor St. Amand, seconded by Councillor Hartling. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Thank you very much. And now we will do the approval of the order of business and the approval of additions or deletions. Madam Clerk, do we have any additions or deletions?
Madam Chair, there are no additions or deletions.
Thank you very much. Oh, it's in here twice. Okay. 4 is business arising from the minutes. There is none.
Sorry, Chair. We just need a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Councillor Hartling. I think I heard Councillor Gillis.
St. Amand.
Oh. We'll go with Councillor Gillis for now. How's that? All
Okay,
those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. Thank you so very much. Business arising out of the minutes, as I said, there are none. Call for declaration of conflict of interests. Seeing none, we'll move on. Motions of reconsideration, there are none. Motions of rescission, there are none. Consideration of deferred business, there is none. And notice of tabled matters, there is none. And hearings, there are none. So we move now to correspondence, Madam Clerk.
No correspondence has been received by the clerk's office.
And petitions, do we have any petitions?
No petitions from the clerk's office.
And we have no presentations. We do have public participation this evening. There is one registered speaker, Mr. Paul McKinnon. Mr. McKinnon, you have 5 minutes. Our clerk will give you a little bit of warning in 30 seconds. And so welcome. Nice to see you again, Paul.
Hello, councillors.
Hi, Paul. How you doing?
I'm doing
Hi,
well.
Paul.
How's everyone here?
Not too bad.
Good.
It's good. I don't know if this counts as part of my 5 minutes, but I'm a fast talker. I want to cram a lot in.
Okay, go for it.
All right. Well, thank you very much. So good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to present. I want to do just a brief presentation to you on what we're calling our new vision for downtown Halifax. And some of you have seen this before. Hopefully all of you have seen this before, but I just want to be able to speak to it and answer any questions. So my name is Paul McKinnon. I'm the CEO of the Downtown Halifax Business Commission. Collectively, we represent 1,600 business members, 24,000 employees, and over $1 billion in commercial assessment. Tonight's presentation, I want to focus on why we feel that we need a new vision for downtown, where it came from, how we created it, and where we feel we need to go next. So at the moment, downtown Halifax is experiencing some positive trends, such as a return to pre-pandemic visitation, strong residential demand, decreased commercial vacancy. Those are all good. Some negative trends include a slow return to the office, public safety concerns, which are ongoing, and low levels of business confidence. So all this begs the question, where do we want to go as a city and as a downtown? And that's where Vision 2030 comes in. So you'll see the cover page of the cover slide on your screens, hopefully. I see it, so hopefully you do too. So last spring, DHBC launched this new vision. It's the result of a year of extensive expert and public consultation. We honed all the good ideas that we heard from people, and we really zoned them into what we deemed were the best ideas. This vision should give all HRM residents hope for a better future downtown, provide focus for policymakers like yourselves as you make decisions around investments and policy choices. So as you can see here on this screen, Downtown Vision 2030, it prescribes 4 what we call transformational moves. We tried to give them each catchy little titles. They are Everybody's Neighborhood, Harbor 365, Entertainment Central, and Move Smart. Collectively, there are 17 specific recommendations that fit into these moves. I'd like to take just a few minutes to look at each of those. So if we can go to the next slide. And we're only allowed 2 slides, so I packed as much as I possibly could into this one. So it's kind of small, but anyway, we can send you copies of this, and it's online as well. So I just want to walk through them very briefly. So Move Smart, that really means that getting to and moving around downtown is easy. We need to make the move to higher order mass transit. This means making the investment now into bus rapid transit, and which can ultimately be converted in some areas to light rail if we so choose. Once individuals arrive downtown at a central transportation hub, moving around within the downtown should be easy, and this can be done on a free frequent loop like Fred the Bus used to provide, or it's done via a connected cycling network, or on streets which are clearly redesigned with pedestrian movement foremost in mind. Everybody's Neighborhood means that downtown is a place where everyone feels welcome. That means it's both a place where many people live and also a place where everyone from across the municipality and across Nova Scotia can feel as a welcoming environment for them. And we achieve that through a renewed neighborhood study to actually determine an optimal number of residents, businesses, and amenities. This study would also look at what we need to do to achieve housing affordability, a broader cultural mix, and heritage protection. Office to residential conversion, that's very difficult, it's very expensive, but it can happen much more with targeted incentives. And I know HRM staff is looking at that at the moment. An urban park strategy would quantify how much and what type of public spaces are needed for growing downtown and how they are programmed, or in some cases left unprogrammed. We already have some wonderful downtown districts like the Argyle Entertainment District, but we need to identify and celebrate more of those. One of those being Barrington Street. And Barrington Street has for decades been yearning to reclaim its status as downtown's main street. A strategy identifying the right moves needs to be put in motion to finally make that happen. And finally, in this category, if a downtown doesn't feel safe, all the rest of this work is for naught. So more eyes in the street, community-based policing, better services for mental health and addictions are all part of the solution there. Number 3, Harbor 365. So Kjipuktuk, the Great Harbor, it's unquestionably our greatest asset. So imagine, if you will, the Halifax-Dartmouth Ferry, not so much as a boat, but as the sidewalk that connects our downtowns. So therefore, it should be free and run every 15 minutes all the time. The missing piece of a pedestrian-focused route, which connects many of our downtown public assets, really between public gardens and the waterfront. The missing piece is really a grand promenade along George Street. We also need to encourage people to use all the hilly east-west streets to better connect the waterfront with the rest of downtown. Our waterfront is incredible now, but we still need a well-coordinated plan that articulates future land use, better access to the harbor islands, year-round event strategy, and better use of the water for transportation, as well as enhanced and consistent investments in placemaking. And we need to do all that while making the area more resilient to the impacts of climate change. And last but certainly not least is Entertainment Central.
30 seconds.
Oh, that sees us becoming renowned as a destination for arts, culture, and entertainment. I won't walk through all those. You can read them for yourself. But what I do want to talk about is what's next. So we've been sharing this vision with lots of people, elected officials, bureaucrats at all 3 levels of government. We've been having some great conversations with the mayor, the deputy mayor, our councillor, Laura White, the CAO, Kathy O'Toole, as well as others. So it's our intention to bring a presentation forward to all of Regional Council, hopefully in early April, with a much more specific recommendation from you for you to consider in terms of moving forward with a stewardship model to ensure that the vision is implemented. Thank you very much. I'd be happy to take any, answer any questions if I can, or take any feedback.
Thank you very much, Paul. So just on questions of clarification, Councillor Hartley has one.
Yeah, I actually have 2.
Great.
You identified a slow return to office as being one of your challenges. Is that what you mentioned that as one of your points?
Yeah, sort of. That's the main reason why we haven't returned to kind of the full pedestrian visitation numbers that we saw pre-pandemic. So we're now back up to those total levels of visitation. But that's one of the key components of why it's taken so long. Is people are never going to come back to work in the same way that they did before. So yeah, that certainly had a huge impact on the vitality downtown.
How do you feel with that vis-a-vis saying that there might be better opportunities to turn office space into residential homes?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So we actually expected a lot higher vacancy rates. Vacancy's actually gone down, which is a kind of a pleasant surprise. So even though there's fewer people working downtown, people in offices still want to maintain that space. But there is an anticipation that there are some opportunities and more opportunities for doing conversion. And we've been seeing this as a trend. There's been a couple of conversions that have happened downtown, but if we look at cities like Calgary, Edmonton that have done really well with conversions, it's come because of municipal programs with incentives to get developers to do that, just to kind of overcome some of those cost hurdles that they face.
Sure. And my last question, I hope that's okay, Councillor Diego Gammon, is when in your Harbour 365 slide, you mentioned placemaking.
Mm-hmm. What
is placemaking?
Placemaking, it's kind of a newer term. We used to call it things like beautification or activation. Really, it's as we have a manager of placemaking who's on my team here who could answer this much better, but he always describes it as turning spaces into places. Really, it's creating an environment where people do want to linger. They want to come to. They want to linger more. So it's a little bit beautification, a little bit programming and activation. So events falls into that, but also, if you think about kind of all the improvements that have happened along the waterfront, things like the hammocks, for instance, and just some of those public spaces that make people want to come here and linger longer, all that stuff kind of falls under the general kind of term of placemaking.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hartling. Councillor St. Amand, you have a question of clarification.
I do, yes. You mentioned urban parks, and I'm just wondering if in your more detailed plan, whether or not you've identified specific locations that feel consistent with the vision that you have for the longer term in the downtown.
Well, there's certainly places that work really well as they are. And some places, and again, you think about some of the places along the waterfront. There's other opportunities around downtown. If you think about the Commons, where we seem like we as a community often have arguments and disagreements about what that space should be. Should it be kind of unprogrammed space? Should it be programmed space? What do we do with the Wanderers grounds, for instance? What we're really advocating for is we don't feel that we're the experts to kind of define what all the spaces look like, but there does need to be an urban park strategy. And as we add more people to the downtown, there is a science to park management. And so there's an ideal amount of space that we need, to support a vibrant downtown. There's also, an ideal kind of mix of uses. There is a big concern that we'll continue to lose public space as we grow because of all the pressures we're feeling. And Toronto is a great example of that, where Toronto, they simply got rid of a lot of their parks, and now they're having to buy public land back to create those amenities that people need. So really, I think we need to leave it to some of the parks experts to really kind of dig into that, what that looks like.
I can see that complementing the placemaking notion fairly well as well, because there's so much interconnectedness that it has the potential anyway to kind of create a pathway for people to visit the downtown.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think the parks piece, it's important for the people that live downtown or adjacent to downtown, of all socioeconomic classes, but also as that attraction, right? So sometimes when we use, like, whether it's Citadel Hill or the Commons for concerts, for instance, there's an example where people would come in from all over for that. So yeah, absolutely.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor St. Amand. Thank you, Paul. And, colleagues, the presentation is online, and I know Paul has met with individual councillors as well. So I'm sure after this, if anybody wants to meet with him, I'm sure you're going to be available, Paul.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the presentation. Much appreciated.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul.
We'll now move on to item 13, which is information items brought forward, and there are none, and to staff reports. And 14.1.1 is a Fall River development area. So I will ask Vice Chair Councillor Gillis to chair, and so I will put the motion on the floor. Councillor Gillis.
I will. Okay, you want to read 14.1.1?
Yes, thank you. So this motion is that the Northwest Community Council gives notice of motion to consider the proposed development agreement as set out in attachment A of the staff report dated February 14th, 2025, to retain one existing single detached dwelling and enable 12 new townhouse dwellings at 3124, 3134, and 3136 Highway 2 in Fall River, and schedule a public hearing.
Do I hear a seconder?
Second.
Councillor Young,
Yes.
seconded by you.
Thank you, Councillor Young. So colleagues, if Jess Harper is here, if we have any questions about this application, it's been on the books for a little while. I'm very excited to see what the community thinks of this development, should it pass and we have a public hearing. Many years ago, the Fall River community had a visioning committee, and this particular kind of development seems to check most of the boxes, if not all, of how the community thought that they wanted to see growth. So it is an application I feel very positively towards, and I do hope that you would support it, and we'll be excited to hear what the community thinks as well. That's it, Mr. Vice Chair.
Okay, any other speakers? I don't see anybody lighting up there.
Question?
Call for the question. That'd be you?
No,
Nope.
that'd be you. All
You get to
those-
say all those in favor?
Oh, that's what I said. Although, ready to go? All those in favor, raise your hands or say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's everybody, I think. All those against, nay. Seeing no hands, motion has passed.
Thank you very much, everyone. Much appreciated. I can resume the chair with your permission, Mr. Vice Chair.
You will.
Thank you. So motions, we have none. In camera, we have none. Added items. Any added items? Notices of motion. Any notices of motion? Then seeing none, the date of our next meeting is April 14th, 2025, and we would ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
Thank you, Councillor St. Amant, at 6:18 p.m. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Is that a record?
Thank you, Jess. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank
you,
you,
Madam
everyone.
Chair.
Thanks, guys.